Hey guys, Jim Graves here. Doing chapter 6 of No Longer Human. This is book 2. Really good. We're just discussing over it, what's going on. From what happened last time, all the stuff happened. He decided that he was going to take his life with one of the girls from, that was a hostess from one of the places he'd been before. Didn't happen, got questioned by the police and everything to figure out if it was actually murder. Some reason for him doing it because they thought maybe he owed her money or something, had a debt, that he might have done it for that reason alone. And we're back at the whole thing of him thinking that his father controls him because a family person came and got him, or not a family person, an acquaintance came and got him, basically took him in and all that other stuff, and is basically trying to figure out what to do with him. So it's kind of where we're at right now. Hair's getting longer. He's starting to actually have hair, basically a little past his shoulders. So they're eating. Guys are older. He says the food tastes horrible. Rice is bad. And the guy tells him he has to finish all of it. It's been 3 months since he came to the house with Flounder and his son. And Flounder tells him he can't go anywhere. He has to stay there. He has to leave. Or he has to live. He has to live there, can't leave and go anywhere else. And make sure that there's nothing around him. Flounder doesn't want him to try any attempts at anything. He's still calling what's-her-face his woman, the girl with the butterfly tattoo on her hand. And he's kind of got that whole thing that a lot of people have. You have those thoughts, but you don't feel like you can go through with it. So that's kind of where he is right now, talking about it, everything. And he's staring at this group of statues of Buddha that the guy has in this room with him. And I guess these are magazines. He's reading magazines. I don't think it's manga. Yes, they're old magazines that Flounder had. We don't have a date or time that says how old they are. But he's made the decision he's probably going to go back to school. And he's already made the thing that if he has to rely on his parents going into the future, that's even worse than what he attempted to do. And he found the guy's basically like checkbook or bank book or whatever, and showing that money's been transferred to it. Knows that it's one of his father's account. It says Tohoku Steel on it. I think that was a reference maybe to Blame, because I think they have a steel company in that called Tohoku. Maybe. Or Tohoku, one of the two. Flounder finally got a car. Flounder is leaving and told his son to watch over him. And we're back to him saying that he can't remember the girl with the butterfly tattoo's face at all. or his affection for her. Which, I mean, in the long run, guys, could he really do that? He'd only really been with her twice. He slept with her both times. You know, it wasn't like this real big thing. One of them, he was drunk. Um, you know, it was kind of like a one night thing, with a little extra, I guess. You know, it wasn't really that much of a thing. So for him to even get to the point that they did, it's kind of, it didn't make a whole lot of sense right now. But, and he just kind of feels like he's alive but dead. And Flounder said he's found out what he's going to go do. He got him a school to find out to go to where he could go and live and practice painting. What he's going to do. Flounder gives him train fare. He also gets more money off of Flounder because he needs more because of brochures for the college. Wants to show him what's inside his bag. And kind of seems like some BS. He's taking the laptop. Flounder asks, why are you taking that? He says, usually you have to pay for the brochures and they put them as PDFs on your laptop. So he's kind of just going off of it. Stops at a convenience store, gets Marlboro cigarettes, menthol ones. He wanted to drink, he wanted to smoke, he wanted to get good food. He says now he ran away for those reasons. Aren't those some petty reasons, though? Goes in, has a thing of ramen. And he goes in to play pachinko. Tries to go play pachinko because out of what he gave him bus fare, which I assume was probably, whatever. I mean, it was a good amount. And he gave him an extra 3,000 to go. Well, he's down to 2320 yen and went to the pachinko to try and raise it back up and basically sucked at it and got back down to 500 yen only. Found in his wallet Masayo's phone number from before when they met, which is, gosh, I mean, it's been a while since we saw Masayo the last time. And we now know that Masayo is a year older, which we kind of knew that before if we were reading the age things by their names. Wants to go check and see if he has completed his thing doing art for 4 years or whatever. Masayo's family owns a little store. Looks like they sell vegetables. And they're basically letting Masayo know that he is coming up. So they live above their store, which that's pretty cool. Farmers market, those are great. And Masayo now has long enough hair too, has a ponytail, which is pretty funny. Masayo, we're now getting from Masayo, the cops interrogated Masayo about all the stuff that was happening. They think that maybe because the lady paid for it, that part of it was because of that, because of the debt and everything, and to know if Yozo was a good person, basically. But Maseo is working on a deadline. Maseo is making comics. So, I tell you guys, Maseo is probably one of my favorite side characters. He's the person you really want to focus on growing. Kind of like with Death Note, how we see L, or we see Light, but L's the person we want to focus on, his growth and whatnot from that, even though obviously we don't get a lot because of what happens in Death Note. But Maseo is one of my favorite characters of this because of everything that happens in it regarding all the stuff like that. I mean, it kind of starts out a little bit as a womanizer, but as it goes on, there's more. He gets better. He becomes a better person. He wants to drink. He wants to still kind of be a little bit of a womanizer, but he knows when to put his nose to the grindstone and really get down and start working, like he's doing this with manga. He's doing stuff with the art class, going to school and doing all that because he's trying to make a living still. He's kind of our normal human compared to Yozo, who is going back and forth of basically a line between depression and a line between being a psychopath kind of deal. So he is questioning why he came to Maseo's house in the first place. There's nothing going on. He gets to meet Maseo's editor person, which is good. She'll come back in the future, guys. Wait on that for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. He's waiting to finish his art. She says, I'll just wait. Yozo and the editor girl start talking. And Maseo tells her a joke, basically that Yozo, whoever he looks at, will get pregnant if it's a woman. One of those things, you know. Talking about her editor-in-chief having to come pick up the drawings and stuff and then do all that. Obviously, in this scale, we know that Maseo isn't that high up on the food chain because he doesn't have a fax machine or anything. Usually, when you get a little more pronounced, you'll get a fax machine and all that other stuff, so... So Maseo's dad hands him the cell phone, or the telephone. It's just a regular telephone. Hands him a telephone and wants to know that it's for him, and somebody else instantly asks for Yozo. And we have found out that it is Flounder, because Flounder's child has actually been telling Maseo for a while now. A lot of stuff's happened. And I love how the mom is like, oh, this guy's cute, da 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 da, talking about Yozo, but in the background she's still like, come back again, you know, and the dad's like bickering behind her, still telling her, don't do that, Maseo doesn't need those problems, don't let that guy come back. One of those things that's really good that just happens that way. And this is another good quality with Yozo right now. He finally goes back, and the little boy is standing there, which I guess he's probably about 9 or so, from the look of it. Still pretty young. But he tells the boy to basically come home, and I mean, you can tell he's still young because he's holding on to like the jacket tail of Yozo's jacket. So I mean, you know, his editor, Masayo's editor, asks what's wrong with him. Um, Masayo tells her what happened basically with him and all that other stuff. Now we're really at this point where Yozo's gone off the deep end basically. We're waiting at a train track. As the train starts going down, there's another one that's about to come, and right before it comes, he elbows the kid in the face to get away from him, runs out underneath the pole in front of the train and onto the other thing before he can even get to him. And again, we're back in an alley, waiting. What do I do? He calls the editor lady of Masayo. And he asks for a job. He wants a part-time job to do stuff. She brings up that Masayo told her what happened. And she looked back at him. This is another thing where psychology kind of plays a good part in this. He's looking at her, and he knows that she gave him this look of she's not going to let him walk out the door without giving him a job. Even though she kind of said that to him. Walks away, and she does. She does say something back to him. And we're also back to him acting like a complete fool, clowning around like he says, and being that influence to her, to the editor. And he's basically, he lets you kind of know that he's fishing for it. He's stepping closer to being something with her. And again, they went out drinking. It seems like whenever they drink and anybody gets drunk or anything like that, it always happens. It always ends in you know which way. So, which I think it's her that's saying it, and he's taking her back to her place. Then this is something huge. This is another womanizer part that is kind of one of those things that I hate that this character doesn't connect as much, and I think that's one of the best parts of the story is he never fits into something where you can actually like him. You know, he never really gets over anything. And this is kind of a great story for the whole, from being a kid into being an adult into becoming elderly, that you can see where if you don't grow, if you haven't become a real person, basically real person, that you're not real to yourself, basically. So this is what he says though. I'm a genius, a parasite on women. And she tells him, we can't go to my house, we can't do anything at my house because I have a child. But he says, I won't let you, in his mind he says basically, I won't let you get away. And he has done this whole thing with his looks and whatever again, and has basically gotten this lady to trick this lady into basically being with him, the editor lady. So they've drunk, she's given him that, and still his whole point of greed and lust and everything has come into play, of him getting to sleep with another woman, obviously, but also playing on to, he feels like he's giving something back to her to make her fall for him. Like he said, I'm a parasite of women, basically. But we're back to the black pages. You guys know what that means. We have some reading to do and some analysis or dissection. So it says, I had no one to turn to. There was nowhere I could go. Uh, Horiki or Maseo. So I'll just tell you guys that when I go back to analyze it. ... As I realized that a guy like Maseo was my only succor in this whole world, I was overcome with a terrible sensation that chilled my very spine. So going back to that, I had no one to turn to. There was nowhere I could go. Basically a question, even though they don't have a question mark on it. Maseo has this whole time basically been his saving grace. Somebody he can talk to, relate to, all that other stuff, because they are friends. And like I said, Maseo is my favorite character in this, basically because Maseo is always the character you can go back to because he's so reliable, but he still has those character flaws. I mean, he's a womanizer, he does all that, he drinks, smokes and all that, but he is growing out of it. So viewing the story between Maseo and Yozo, I mean, it's totally different of how it is. You know, we haven't had Maseo do anything to harm people like too bad. I'd say he's still harming girls that he slept with for, if it was for an alternative reason or whatever, but you know, whatever, you know, not and abundantly he didn't know that he was probably one of the reasons that the girl with the butterfly tattoo did what she did, but you never know. So after that, ... As I realized that a guy like Maseo was my only succor in this whole world, I was overcome with a terrible sensation that chilled my very spine. So without Maseo, he wouldn't have an anchor. He wouldn't have anything to this world. There wouldn't be anything for him, basically. There wouldn't be anything letting him know that he is, quote unquote, human. So, yeah, I mean, that's where we're at so far. Really good story. I like how it does do this whole thing right here, and it's very good, but it's only a 3-volume series, so, I mean, you get this stuff and you're realizing that you're going over this person's entire life in 3 volumes, which is pretty crazy. So, anyway, guys, I will catch you guys on the next one. It will be the 7th chapter, and yeah, we'll see you there. Jen Graves out. Bye.